Hello guys, welcome back to our podcast. What is it again? Your wormhole from TradFi to DeFi. We always get it wrong, right? We don't say the wrong hole. That's the thing. Today we have a very unique set of guests, not just one. We will be discussing the intersection, right, of finance and faith, right? There's a lot to talk about, especially with the recent
drawdown,
right? I think religion has a lot to say about losing money. But welcome to the podcast. By the way, these are the guys behind the CryptoChristian Instagram page. Welcome to the pod, Kenneth and Eddryll.
Yeah, thank you for having us. What a privilege. Yeah.
Privilege is ours. So I have to actually first start off by asking, right? How would you name such a unique name as Eddryll? No offense, Kenneth. A little bit more common than Eddryll. At first, I thought it was Eddryll or something, right? So maybe you want to get a sense. Maybe how do you spell it and then?
Oh yeah, it's. I tell you, my wife just recently broke the news to me. She said, "Eddryll, your name is just so impractical. No one can spell it, and everyone hears it the first time. They always say it wrong. So it's Eddryll."
Like chlorophyll, but
double D, double L.
Yeah, exactly. Double D, double L. Like, can you just take out one L, you know? But the origins of my name came from my parents. So my brother's name, who is 11 years older than me, is named FIRL. AFFRYLL. So he's the more OG of uniqueness. And when they got me, they wanted to maintain the RYLL. Thank God they almost named me Nigel, right, for whatever reason. So they came out with a more calmer Eddryll. So that's the story.
Nigel, like Nigel, but...
Yeah, but with real.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Keeping it real there.
Yeah, exactly. But no.
What's wrong with Daryl? I'm just curious.
I asked my mom, man. I have no idea. But I stuck through the name. And this is where I'm at. Luckily, I got married with the name also, so it's all good.
I'm just thinking it's the vowel because there's A and then there's E, right? So now it'll be Eddryll or something like that.
Oh no, my goodness. Yeah, let's see.
Wow. I mean, that was the first thing that I noticed. I was like, how do I type this into saving contacts on WhatsApp? Like, I just better check with you guys.
Yeah.
But I want to get a sense of like what do you all do, right? So maybe we'll start with Kenneth a little bit of maybe give us a sense, because we literally just met, right? And I want to know what you guys actually do.
Right. So the thing that I like to play, the game I like to play when people ask me what I do is I usually tell people I work with models.
Oh, actually, you can look at this. You don't have to look at the camera.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
So when I tell people I work with models, people usually like, oh, you're you're in modeling agency, you're a photographer. No, I work data models.
Nice.
So
Excel
the curvier models, the better,
Big brain stuff. Nice.
Yeah. So currently, I'm a data analyst for a pharmaceutical company, and I've been in this position for I think about 2-3 years now.
Right.
Yeah. So it started just before the pandemic. So I think over time, as I went into doing more data, more just number crunching in general, that's where I think the interest in crypto came about as well.
Right.
Yeah, because aside from stocks, aside from Forex and all the stuff, there's also crypto to take a look into. And I think that's where the interest started coming up in about, say, October 2021, towards the end of 2021.
Right. So it's pretty recent.
It's a pretty recent.
Right. Like what, is this your first job out of uni?
No. So this is my second company out of uni. When I came out of uni, I went into a managerial trainee program.
Right.
Yeah. So I think I went through about 3 or 4 positions over there. So when people ask me, how many jobs have you gone through? I asked them 6. 6. Wow. How, bro, you're so young. How did you go through 6 jobs already? 2 companies.
6
4
roles.
or 5 in the
beauty of
first
a
role.
management trainee position.
Yeah, exactly.
Definitely.
So you get to try and see everything. But I think I kind of settled in pharmaceutical because I realized my first company was in logistics and that wasn't really for me.
Right.
I mean, as much as I appreciate people working over the weekend, to get our goods from
there's no rest
source to
for
shelf.
logistics.
There's no rest. It doesn't recognize the weekend. When things have to go to port, things have to go to port. But right now pharmaceutical, it's a different ball game. But I love this ball game.
Yeah. Right. And for you, Eddryll, later we'll go into more on the historical part. But how about you, Eddryll?
Yeah, what I do. So I work in Methodist College Kuala Lumpur. Shout out to my college I'm working. Yeah. I got conned into the job.
On into the
Yeah, because
job.
I applied for psychology to teach in A levels, but then the bosses there says, oh, by the way, we have this subject called character formation, and they psyched me up lah. They said in this is course structure, you get to teach about life, leadership, financial literacy, conflict, and I was like, wow, cool, you get paid to talk about life. I mean, like, sign me up. And then 6.5 years later, I mean, it's been a great journey for me. Going against, okay, that's the wrong, no, I shouldn't say that. Not following the norm of a system education and teaching them about life in a manner that I think would equip them more than just what their intellect or academics will be helpful for them lah. So that's what I've been doing. I also, along the years, started teaching basic spreadsheets, digital marketing. So I'm very into crypto, digital behavior, and of course the Bible lah.
Right.
Yeah, but I'll be leaving my workplace in a month's time to join full-time ministry. For the sake of the listeners, full-time ministry is in this Christian lingo where you say you are going to serve God totally, not enter the secular world kind of thing lah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's for if you are.
This is
wanna
actually
Yeah,
a
let's
deep
explore
discussion
that.
of whether actually the word secular actually makes sense because Okay, anyway,
Yeah.
we're not going into that first, but
Yep.
But I want to go back to maybe as a kid, right? In terms of like thinking about money, which is a big part of what you guys do now in terms of the Crypto Christian. Was that always there? Maybe give a sense of how you guys were raised in terms of your money beliefs, in terms of, careers and things like that. We'll start with Eddryll and then we'll move on to Kenneth.
Yeah, I try to be brief. Like naturally your parents are the first contact point of what money is. Yeah. So but my parents were polar opposites. So my mom is save everything, and everything buy the cheapest. And my dad is, if you want it, go get it. So from that you really have the sense of the kind of conflicts that my parents will already have. Right, so my dad's gonna go get it, and my mom has to work hard to match up for whatever debts my dad might have incurred.
Really,
that kind of thing, But they make it work. It wasn't the most perfect, but in the end, what I learned from them is this. So I learned how to save, and when I really want to get something that I really want, I go get it lah.
So you don't get to that lah. So.
So but the funny thing is, my touching point of money, right, was like, when I was standard 1 I had an idea, I buy stickers from the convenience store and I sell it to my friends 10 cents more. And because it's just 10 cents more, they don't see the difference. And then people started buying lah, till I reached my first 5 ringgit, 10 ringgit, right? A teacher saw and started complaining to my mom, who was a teacher in that same school. Then I got scolded for it and I was so confused. It's like, hey, but I'm making money, right? And they want to buy it, right? But then I realized there was this whole other protocol, like for a better word, that you don't cross lah. As a student, you just be a student. Don't try to be a smart that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's the brief touch base with how I learned about about money lah. Yeah, anything more then dig further lah later.
Yeah, Kenneth.
All right, I guess then for me, it's kind of a different approach from Eddryl's parents. What I realized was that my parents, I think they both were kind of like aligned on this, was that they don't really have the mindset of we can't afford this. They're more asking the question of how can we afford this.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's good, man.
So so in a way it kind of like drummed to me like rather than seeing this as as an obstacle, see as an opportunity. Like, how can you afford this? So as a young kid, sometimes I'll do chores, then they'll give me money.
Nice.
If you do this, and you get 5 ringgit.
Is there a tier?
There was a tier.
The wash car is 20
correct,
ringgit,
correct.
right?
So like the more difficult the job, the higher the pay and everything. So I guess in a way it was their pioneering into like raising me. But then I realized that was a pretty employee kind of mindset as well, because like
True.
you do something, then you get paid for it and so on. But I guess it was a start, to saying that rather than telling yourself I can't afford this, it's asking like, what can I do to afford this? So I guess I kind of grew up with that mindset as well. So in a way, my parents didn't really like hold back on splurging, I guess, on the good stuff. It's just because they do mention that good things are meant to be enjoyed. So I think it's more like wise money management rather than just like save everything. So it's, put into investments, save what you can and all that stuff. So I think that was kind of the mindset that I grew up in. And so it went with me from like school to high school. So I don't really have like an entrepreneurial story like Eddryll does.
Right,
But, so I started off with the E mindset and then went off to college. And then from there, it just started like a lot of my college friends and uni friends then eventually became entrepreneurs themselves.
I see.
They realized that, hey, this is another way of making money as well and to afford the things that I want to get. So that's where I think back when I was 16 or 17, I read this book by Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad. I think that's like the starting point for many of my friends because I realized a lot of them also started off with the Rich Dad Poor Dad series.
Yeah.
Many of us also.
Right.
It's the Bible for a lot of
Yeah,
people in
for a lot of
finance,
finance people,
right?
yeah. So I guess then it took off from there, that saying that, I instead, because when I realized that when I was 15 or 16, I wanted to go to science stream. But after I picked up that book, I realized, okay, I want to go to business.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
So that was kind of like where the finance thing came.
Did anyone like convince you otherwise? Like, hey, don't you know that like, oh, if you do science stream, you can go back to business, but if you go business, you can never go back to science.
Yeah,
Yeah. So throughout high school, so that means for my Form 3, Form 4, Form 5, I stuck with my science stream. So only after I graduated, then I went into college, MCKL, OSMET, and did
OSMET,
business.
okay.
Yeah, I did OSMET in MCKL.
All right, Brad, you got any questions?
Oh, good. Let's move on to the juicy parts.
Yes. Oh, actually, before that, how did you guys meet? Actually, how does a lecturer and a data analyst become good friends?
Shall I go first?
You can start
Yeah,
first.
then you fill in the gaps,
I'll
right?
fill in the gaps. Fact check.
It's the kind where I think much of the juicy parts will be taken out of this podcast, right? But long story short, I started Christian memes, and it was growing to a number that I cannot handle. All the
Whoa.
questions, all the people like, if a pastor is not meant, for example,
Suffering
to
from success.
no, not in that context lah. But if I was supposed to reach out to people personally, I cannot be one person, 1,000 people. That's crazy. So this person has been sending in memes, okay. And I'll be taking some of his memes. And then came the thought, hey, this person's memes quite on point, and it's so rare to find someone that can create a Christian and Malaysian meme at the same time.
Yeah.
So I messaged him, hey, Kenneth, will you be interested to be part of Malaysian Christian memes? And then he started sharing a bit of himself, and I'm like, wait, are you the Kenneth Ho from ground zero with a particular church that's been infecting Christian fellowships? Say, yes, I am that Kenneth Ho. You see what I mean? That's why it has to be taken off the podcast.
Okay.
And from there, we met, we talked, and we aligned ourselves. And ever since then, we were partners since October 2020.
It was 2020.
Yeah,
Wow.
October 2020. So that's how we met.
Born during the pandemic.
Yeah.
So then, how
What's
did...
your version though?
Yeah.
What's
exactly.
Kenneth's version?
I think pretty much aligned with him because I kind of like was doing my own meme thing like before I met him, but then I realized that wasn't really taking off. So rather than like start off from ground zero, why not just write off, a more established platform.
We were established.
A more established.
Yeah.
Look, the market is so young, right?
I
if you
know.
think
That's
about
true.
it.
That's true.
Exactly. So, but
Yeah.
the blue ocean strategy, right?
Blue Ocean strategy. Wait, before we go on, right now, just dive in. Why memes? Why memes?
Okay. So long story short, I study digital marketing on free courses, what I call ICDL, International Certificate of Digital Learning.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so as I studied further, right, and I dug deep into the world of digital behavior, what happened was I came to be convicted about the kind of things that the social media companies was doing to us, Web 2.0, what I'll call invasive marketing rather than mindful marketing.
Oh.
And yeah, it was getting very toxic for how they do it. And when I teach my students on digital marketing, I teach them mindful marketing. You are promoting your products not for the sake of profits, but the business model of I don't know whether I get in trouble. Twitter, Google, Facebook. The business models are all to make money off us, kind of thing, and the things that they do to tweak or to brainwash us, like for a better word. So I deleted Facebook. I deactivated Instagram account, and then I realized. So this is the fifth element in me came in. God saying, "Hey, Eddryll, the very generation you're reaching out to are not on the ground; they are inside there." So I
Go back in.
go back in.
Reactivated, yeah.
I said, So meme seems to be something that they're responding to. This was before Reels or TikTok, right?
Interesting.
Yeah. Then I just posted Christian Malaysian centered memes, and then people started responding lah. They started sharing, commenting, and it just took off way more than I could handle lah. Yeah.
I see your IG stories, right? Like, I don't know if you've seen the Malaysian Christian memes. It's like paragraphs on paragraphs. I don't know. People have to stand.
You have to pause.
And to press and hold the thumb there, right?
Exactly.
That's amazing. Any more questions?
I'm good. Thanks for sharing that.
Okay, so I know you mentioned just now 2021 October. That's when you guys got interested in crypto for Kenneth. I'm not sure about Eddryl's story, but how do you all decide to then create the CryptoChristian?
Why not let you tell the story?
Right. Okay. So initially, I had a chat with Eddryll about like cryptocurrency is like an upcoming, rather not just cryptocurrency but rather blockchain technology in general, Web 3.0. And what I thought was that, hey, how should we approach this from a Christian perspective? Because I realized that talking to a lot of my Christian friends, a lot of them have like misunderstandings about how blockchain works. I don't think it's like it's a scam.
Money in general.
It's money in general because you're in it to make money quickly. So you cannot be money minded. As a Christian, all this stuff. So I thought like, is that really the case? So I had a chat with Eddryll. Then initially we were all like, let's just put this on hold, in the pipeline, and we'll see where this goes. So I thought, okay, I thought of a cool name. It's called the CryptoChristian, and I thought like the handle, took the name first. So what I did was that I quickly created an Instagram page just like to keep it there initially. But what I didn't realize was that it was still linked to Eddryl's email account somehow. So he got like the login notification and all the stuff. So the secret was out.
So I was like, Mango, Kenneth, you didn't wait. It's like, I just put first.
Yeah, so just took the name first, and we'll see where that goes from there. So that was kind of like how the CryptoChristian came about. And so the idea was that we wanted to come in to make content that shows how we as Christians can approach cryptocurrency and blockchain in general, without like getting too caught up with like the whole it's a scam, it's a get rich quick scheme and all this stuff. You're not Christian because you value property and wealth over these things.
And we have a pastor. Is he still a pastor? Tim Phillips.
Oh yeah.
He oversees. He generally oversees our page and guides us from time to time. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So in a way, he's kind of like our auditor, saying that hey, maybe you might be doing a bit off this.
In a way, but nothing official yet because we're still young in that sense.
Yeah. In a way, we're still trying to like find our footing, because to create specifically crypto-Christian content, we realize it's actually not as wide. For now, from what we're seeing, it's not as easy to create content for now.
Yeah.
So it's more like just saying, these are the definitions of what's hodling, what are whales, what are these, which you can actually find on many other crypto pages, right? Yeah. So what does it look like to be a crypto-Christian page? I think that's where we're still trying to figure things out.
Correct.
So in your personal lives, right? Do you all remember the first time you all bought your first crypto, whether it's Bitcoin or whatnot?
Oh, sure. I think for most Malaysians that I have met, the entry point has always been Luno.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah. So that was mine. So I took someone's
promo code.
Promo code, right? Got that 25 ringgit extra Bitcoin. And then found out Celsius gave 50 USD Bitcoin. So
Sorry, Ross.
Sorry, Aaron.
Ross so I was like, Aaron. All the Bitcoin there. Transfer everything now is in Celsius. Yeah. Then so I bought my first Bitcoin in Luno. Sorry, not first Bitcoin. Sorry, I bought Bitcoin. Because I cannot afford one Bitcoin. And I tried to steal. Then Binance also was my first entry point. Then I got some Ethereum. I stay away from Ethereum. My personal reason is just because I just don't like the gas fees. Yeah. So with my capital, I just stuck with Bitcoin first, lor. So that's my starting point, lor.
I think I fall under that category of people who did not get their start in crypto from Luno. So initially my first encounter with, rather my first acquisition of cryptocurrency was through GameFi actually.
I see.
So things like so when my friends introduced me to the idea of DeFi and GameFi, I thought like, hey, this is actually a pretty interesting way of doing finance. Rather than pay to play, you're play to earn, So I thought, you're just switching the paradigm of how, games are being done. So then I guess from there, the interest in crypto built up. And then my first crypto, I guess we can say, was from actually what we call Cake DeFi.
Ah,
So
yes,
it's from the
yes.
DeFi network itself. So I got my first DFI and everything from KuCoin, and then transfer, and then like what Eddryll was saying, the returns were actually pretty high. So that's when my first foray into like liquidity mining, staking,
That's proper
lending.
DeFi stuff.
Yeah, that's proper DeFi stuff rather than like hodling and waiting for like prices to go up.
Yep.
Because for me, I wasn't really much of a speculator. I was more like just put this to work, invest. So rather than like buying say 0.02 of a Bitcoin and then selling 0.02 of a Bitcoin at a higher price, why not grow that 0.02 to make it 0.03, 0.04, 0.05? So that's where I think the DeFi and liquidity mining came into the picture.
So what were you on Ethereum itself, or where is it today? I mean, in terms of like, what are you excited about, I guess?
So I don't really. Actually, to be honest, I only just got my Luno account like 2-3 days ago.
So you do things in reverse, right?
Yeah, I did
you
things
do the
in
difficult
reverse.
things first, then you go
Oh
back
my
to the
goodness.
easy stuff.
Yeah. So I actually just bought my first like bit of Bitcoin on Luno itself, and I think that's my first into the big, I think top 10, top 20 crypto, because most of it has always been DFI and DUSD, which is under the DeFi chain network.
Yeah. Okay. The
Very different
Eddryll.
stories as well.
Sorry?
Very different origins.
Yeah, definitely.
it's
Actually,
reverse.
it's my first time hearing it. So.
Oh, really?
Yes.
But for yourself, is it just Luno, or do you have your MetaMask, and do you have all your Web3 wallets?
Yes, I have my MetaMask, and KuCoin, Anchor.
Oh.
Yeah, so that's another story
Max
for its
Payne.
own. Yeah, that's pain. But so yeah, for me, my favorites were like Bitcoin as a whole value kind of thing, like a goal idea. So the way I choose my coins has to be like, I really want to understand, the basics lah. Who the person is, what's the goal and the roadmap and all that. And so far my favorite, which I have no idea why the price action isn't moving. It's actually Polkadot lah. Right? I somehow like Polkadot's fundamentals and direction, and how they are the Ethereum 2.0 that Ethereum is still
They call
catching
it
up on.
parachains right now.
Yeah,
right?
parachains, they are zero layer protocols lah. So it's like instead of buying a car to drive on the highway, why not I invest in the highway so that all cars can drive on lah. Yeah, so I have a significant amount of holdings there. And whoever's watching, just don't you go make your own research, please.
NFA,
and always NFA to the max, man. And that's how I choose my coins. So I am slower to DeFi. He was the one that Eddryll kick swap, kick DeFi, and all that. So I'm building up capital to enter into kick DeFi while I was on Anchor until the whole USD thing, depegging happened, and now honestly my fundamentals in DeFi a bit shaken lah.
Okay.
A bit shaken, but my convictions in cryptocurrency remain strong as ever lah.
It's good to hear.
Yeah.
How come? Why is it? Why is that the case?
Look, okay. So I'm like really into economics and finance one. Okay. The moment you started learning about money flow, cash flow, and assets and all that, then you start to see a whole different world slightly, and then you start to understand what these businessmen and all these who see money flow in a different way and how they grow money like in an instant, it starts to make sense. And Robert Kiyosaki, as usual, he really changed my mind by this one simple line, you don't work for money, let money work for you.
Yeah.
And it's the simple idea of seeing money as a tool, not as a wealth to amass. The tool is supposed to get whatever you want and you need, right? But if you see money as a wealth to amass, as a goal, then you're totally missing the point. So when you see money as a tool, then you'll be thinking of how to use it as a tool to work other things and how to grow your cash flow or how to see assets and monetize it. So that's why there was all this has been flowing in my mind. So cryptocurrency comes in a time of the housing bubble market crash right? And I when that happened, right, I was just digging deep into why that happened and how
Wait, you mean during
2007?
08? Wait, during 07, 08, you were deep into understanding?
No. When I watched The Big Short, that movie, that's how. So 08, I was still so young, I didn't know much better I just noticed that I pay for stuff is just more expensive My parents pay more expensive stuff. But long story short, my conviction in crypto remains actually after reading the white paper for Bitcoin by Satoshi, not in the trust in blockchain, for example, but rather in the concept of taking away the middle person, which is the banks. However, my view of the world of cryptocurrency is slightly different from majority. I don't hold on to decentralization. Oh, that's interesting, right? Because I don't think it's ever going to happen. Yeah.
Agree,
Yeah, because the world society will not go for that. They rather go for convenience.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I'm learning about crypto, right? I'm trying to bring other people crypto, and they just say, Eddryll, I'm just giving you my money, you do it for me. I'm like, what?
It's
In
like
the
the
end-
opposite, right?
Yeah, I'm the CFI now lah. I become the centralized lah. And if I turn corrupt, I can take whatever I do with my money, with your money, and make so in the end. So that's why it will stay. It will not. This is my thoughts only lah. It will not replace fiat. It will come alongside fiat in a different sense, a form of forex kind of exchange kind of feel. But I do not know how it's going to look like yet lah. But because my conviction is taking out the middle person, that's why I believe cryptocurrency is an option, finance option that will stay lah. Yeah, that's a short answer first lah. I gave a long explanation to it.
Pretty good explanation.
Yeah. Actually, it's great that you came to that, because I think both of us, we discussed about this also. We realized that without centralization, actually crypto adoption cannot happen. I know that's not music to the ears of a lot of people.
Yeah.
But the thing is, the people who are talking about decentralization and managing all your 60,000 web wallets and all the seed phrases, all that, is really not very conducive for the normal person.
Yeah.
And if the normal person don't get into crypto, basically, to use
won't get
crypto,
mass adoption
your
lah.
backs won't get pumped, right?
Exactly.
Basically, right?
Exactly.
So yeah, but what about Kenneth? Like, do you share the same conviction? Do you have a slightly different take about all this?
So I think going back to what I mentioned just now, to me, crypto is rather like not say an afterthought, but rather like it's an avenue of people to get into DeFi and all this. Because for me, I'm not so much of holding the crypto and then letting it grow as price shoots up and everything, but more like I think like what Eddryll was saying, it's the concept underlying each crypto. So like for example, the idea of XRP, for example, is to facilitate interbank transfers but at a much cheaper rate and everything. Then there's also DeFi, the different ways of doing finances, right? Aside from our traditional loans and mortgages and all the stuff, we now have like liquidity mining, crypto borrowing and lending and all the stuff. So for me, I think I'm more convicted of the changes that crypto and the blockchain technology in general can do to our current systems. So I think my convictions are more towards just decentralizing finances. Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
So are you like a big fan of Polkadot, or what are you a fan of?
To be honest, I'm not really a fan of any one particular crypto.
I
It's
see.
just the concept of decentralizing finances in general.
Right.
So I think but if you had to push me the corner to say what's the current cryptocurrency
Yeah.
or I would like, I think DFI is one that embodies what I value the most, I guess. Which again, DFI actually is just DeFi on decentralized finances.
Right.
That's a token for Cake DeFi, is it?
Sorry.
Is it a
So
token
DFI is actually the token for the DEFI chain. So the DeFi chain has its token as DFI.
Okay.
Yeah. So that's like their
But do
native
you own
token.
any cake?
So it's not actually, so Cake DeFi is actually a company that runs on the DeFi chain
I see.
blockchain
Okay,
rather
got
than
it.
Cake itself.
Understand.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
It's a proof of stake chain, just
That's correct. Yeah, it's a
Okay,
proof of stake
cool.
chain.
Right. Okay. So if someone wants to get into like DeFi, because even someone like Eddryll who believes a lot in crypto, but the faith in, I guess, DeFi is a bit shaken thanks to what happened. We will talk about that later for sure. But what would you say are some of the things, whether it's mindset tips or even technical tips, that someone need to have before they hop into the world of DeFi?
As always, DYOR.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But of course, one thing I realized is that a lot of people, when they see, oh, this is something new, they can go one of two ways. Number one, shun it altogether. That means, I don't understand it. I don't want to learn about it. It's just don't talk to me about it.
Right.
The other approach is the extreme. They just go all in
Yeah.
with their life savings, and that's why we hear a lot of sad stories right now, especially
Yeah.
with the latest crash.
Yeah.
I think some people actually
Took their lives. Yep.
took their lives
That's right.
because of that. So I think my tip, or rather my mindset, would be like to go in with what you can afford to lose. So for me, so that really depends on each person. But so the amount that I went in with, I was telling myself, if I lose this thing, if I lose everything here, my life won't change. It's a sad case, but ultimately my lifestyle and my I won't go into debt or whatever because of that. So it's basically just go in with what you can afford to lose and always be curious, because there are plenty of resources online, I realized, that explain the difficult concepts, I guess, of crypto. Actually, at this point, when I look at it, it's like it's actually quite easy, but back then, I was like, what is liquidity mining?
The beginning is always the most.
It's always the hardest. That's where the learning curve is the highest. But once you get into the learning curve and you're up there in the learning curve, you can start drawing concepts together. And
especially when you interact with the protocols, right?
Exactly. Then you realize that, hey, this is so that's what it means. When it says that you get native tokens, you get mining, you get this and that.
Right.
So just basically be curious. Take risk, but calculated risk, of course. Right. Yeah. So I think that was pretty much the thing that I went in with. Yeah. So
for Eddryll, right, I have to ask now. So that's more for DeFi, but in your experience running the Instagram page, or maybe even people asking you on Malaysian Christian memes, or even your personal life, right? What are some of the biggest skepticism or obstacles that people always put forth for crypto? And how do you address them usually?
Oh, okay. The skepticism has always been, it's a wild, wild west, right? And the other one would be like, what if I lose everything I put in? And actually, right, you take away crypto, you put in money, you put in stocks, you put in real estate, you just shift the context. The way of understanding how you manage your resources still stays the same, right? So I'll tell them, look, at the moment you're born into this world, it's already a risk already.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
You cannot just see risk in the context of investment and crypto, right? You want to go get that girl. Is that not a risk right there? And the whole point is...
And you cannot diversify with marriage.
Exactly. You have to go all in, for better or for worse, right? Even if the stocks drop, you stay with your wife, man.
Yeah, man. You have to double down,
Exactly. You have to dollar cost average, seriously.
You hodl the wife.
Exactly. That's going to be a title, Brad. Dollar cost averaging your wife.
Exactly, maybe, man.
Let's do it.
Yeah, but okay. So here's the idea. The idea here is, look, so is because it's so risky, am I not supposed to enter it? No. The idea is you're going to be at risk regardless of whether you enter it or not. Is you have to reduce your risk by increasing your knowledge on whatever you're investing in. It's as simple as that. So why you choose which college to study in, why you choose which degree to do, you are also risk assessing.
Yeah.
So have that mindset also and learn up about cryptocurrency, right? And then when they say it's a scam and all that, I said, sadly, the start of it will always be a scam in the context where when Satoshi gave this idea, the people that will first take notice of it are those who will find loopholes around it.
Yeah.
Right? Like the world of NFTs last year were not true artists. It was just random people who took a pixel photo and write algorithms on it and then make money. Right? I have someone, a pastor, who did an NFT, right? He flipped it and got 700 USD. Said, Eddryll, I got 700 USD just like that, and I still don't get how. Why? And it's like, that's the world of NFTs lah. The use case of NFTs is still growing, and that's the reality. So I'll tell them, fine, I'm an early adopter, put it that way. I wish I was an earlier adopter because it's already been 12 years plus. But look, if you don't want to enter it, I'm not gonna force you into it. If you want to learn about it, then I'll tell you more about it lah. Yeah, that's how I go about it. So I will not push your buttons, but no, you need to have a healthy mindset of finance in general. Yeah.
I mean, since you guys are Christians, right? I think I can foresee people have already asked this, right? Like, Bitcoin is used by a lot of, very unsavory people, right? Whether it's drug addicts, child traffickers, and all that black market stuff, right? Like, how do you respond when someone says like this is being used by all these, very, terrible, so-called terrible people, right?
So I take out one USD note and say this has also been used for the same reason.
Yeah.
How do you justify that?
Yeah.
Then I tell them, look, it's a tool, right? It's people that puts the money in it. Like guns don't kill people. People kill people. And I know people
that's
will disagree.
that's a very
Yeah, I know,
dangerous
I know.
thing, yeah,
I know,
okay,
yeah.
but I
Yeah.
understand
But I
that.
mean, I can justify that in a way. But that's a whole different topic lah. So I let them know, look, you need to be able to pull out the arguments properly and then see. You don't purposely put a moral element into something that is amoral or does not have any moral capacity. Yeah, it's how you use it lah. That's how I respond lah.
Okay.
Right. Any questions? Right?
So speaking of morality in that sense, whatever we've discussed so far, right? Suppose common questions that anyone will have on crypto. But what would you say are common, themes that you guys want to help the average Christian out there who's very keen on getting into crypto, but may have their own concerns from a Christian point of view? Like what kind of questions have you gotten? What kind of concerns have you gotten from that?
Yeah, I'll pass to you first lah.
Sure thing.
Yeah.
So I think the first thing that a lot of people, a lot of the Christians I've talked to, they raise up would be the high return rates, because usually they say if it's above a certain point, it's a scam. Exactly. So so how have I responded to that? Because I think like what Eddryll said, it's a wild west out there.
Yeah.
And we have to admit that, you know, it's the legal framework around it has yet to catch up with, you know, how crypto works in general, because we're talking about like anonymous, you know, sending of funds from left to right. So like, you know, what we say, yes, of course, it can be used for, you know, shady deals and all the stuff, because, you know, it's decentralized. There's no one particular authority over it for you to like track where transactions are going. But going back to the returns part of it, so that's the thing, because just because it has high return rates doesn't necessarily mean it's a scam. It just means that you need to do more research as to why it can offer such high returns. So I think like for just to get them to question their belief, you know, because immediately when they say it's a scam, I ask them, you know, why do you think it's a scam? You know, higher return rates. Why do you think they can give high return rates? And that's where, you know, they start. That's where you can see that, you know, they didn't really have it's a very surface understanding of how crypto and blockchain works in general. But so I encourage them just read up on why they can offer this. You know, we talk about the high risk but high rewards, you know, how they work in the background and everything. And then a lot of times they realize that, oh, you know, it actually makes it a bit more palatable. So not necessarily convinced, but they understand why better, you know, they can actually offer, you know, high interest rates than normal, you know, normal finances can.
Yeah.
Eddryll?
Yeah, for me, so I just approach them in two things lah. First thing is, as a Christian wanting to enter, for me, I would say, what is the purpose of you wanting to be interested in crypto first? Like, because a Christian point of view, God sees the heart. That's what one of the Bible verses we take, right? So if you're entering into crypto merely for the sake of wanting to be rich, right? Then I said something is off there. You take away crypto, you put something else, right? You're still gonna get greedy and all that. Yeah. So, but then the other thing also is I recognize that most of them that see it come from those who tell them like, you know, hey, we're gonna enter this coin before the ICO, you know, and then when it 5x's, and then you just leave and like. And there's nothing wrong with that lah. But then conscience wise they feel off lah, right? And these are the kind of people that they've been meeting of what's the word? Hacking the system, I like for a better word. Yeah. So I said, okay, I recognize that there's these kind of things, and I have no say because like what can I say? The legal matters has not caught up yet. So all I say is this is how I would deal with crypto. I would see it as a tool and an alternative financial system that, you know, this is where my research you know, brought me. I deep dive to the point where I crashed my car because I was
really?
Oh yes.
Wait, what?
Long story short, okay, I was reading last month November, just reading from staking to proof of stake, proof of work, everything from DeFi, just
dedication,
reading.
Man.
Yeah, I was like deep down like 3 a.m. watching YouTube. Like I was just so, when my conviction kicked in, right? I went all in terms of research. I'm the kind of guy, when I believe in something, I go deep dive lah. Yeah. And all in the name of truth lah. If I found something's untrue, I let go lah. And that's why I said the anchor, the Terra Luna thing really shook me a bit lah. So one day I was just driving out, then I was looking at my my maps, and then my colleague said, Eddryll, I said, what? By the time I did it, my hand wheel was steering to the side. I hit the cement pot, boom, you know. Yeah. Then I told myself the next car I hit will not be will have to be my car because it wasn't really my car.
Oh damn.
So yeah lah.
So too tired lah from all the research.
Yeah, I burn out basically. I researched it, I burn out lah.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's a learning point to
cool.
slow down. But yeah, that's how I respond. Check your heart. And then I'll tell them my convictions of crypto, because it's a wide world, wild, wild west, right? Even he explains DeFi, I still don't get it. I call it like a box, right? When you put in money, right, then more comes out of it, and you don't really know how come it happens
It's a money
that way.
vending machine, basically.
Yeah, and because there's no regulation, value is ascribed in a different manner. Right, and those who want to take advantage of it, by all means, I mean, again, there's no law against it, so it's all, the only law is the one that's your conscience,
Understand.
Yeah, so that's how I respond to the Christians who are interested, Yeah.
Just one final follow-up question to that before I pass it back to MJ. I'm a new Christian, so I recently got baptized about a month
congrats.
ago. Thank you.
We share the joy, definitely.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I think that a lot of my reasons for having gotten into crypto and investing were, I suppose, from the angle of, growing your wealth, getting rich. And I'm a new Christian, so I'm not sure what exactly is the guiding light that I should follow.
Right. Okay.
But let's say if I were to get swayed, and obviously I had, because I lost quite a bit of money in Terra crash as well. And you mentioned earlier wanting to follow your heart, find guidance through prayers and all that. Like how do you bring yourself back to the center when you're kind of deviated by greed, in a sense?
I start first, then you add on. Yeah,
sure.
you know what I mean? So just a quick clarification. I wouldn't say follow your heart, but rather understanding the condition of your heart. On why you do something lah. You have to be honest with yourself lah. So I will agree with you. In the context where money can get very tempting, like I mean, Kenneth knows lah. We are investing in the same things, right? And we're pretty comfortable.
We are, yeah.
Right now, pretty comfortable in a sense. After I know having these sets of investments, and I have to sit down with my wife to check, hey, are we overspending lah? Overspending in the context where we are entering to luxurious zone. So I will just put it this way for you lah. I think one thing we need to understand is, in reality, as a Christian, we understand that everything belongs to God, which means what? Everything that we have now in our hands, we are just stewards of that.
It's just your turn to take care of it.
Just to take care of it lah. And my starting point is, with this money, God is going to bless me. My only rule is, I will make sure I bless others with it. That I will only live within my means, because if I say that God is my Savior, God is my Father, Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior, which means that He is the richest person, and if I'm His son, then I'm the richest person in that sense.
And your treasures are in heaven, right?
Exactly, right? Although it's so intangible. So while that is intangible, whatever that's tangible here, I will make sure I be good stewards of it, to grow it, to make it flourish, like the parable of talents. There's a parable in the Bible that talks about this master giving this sum of money, and he went away, and then the few people grow that talents, kind of thing. So are you faithful to what you're giving now, worst case scenario, you were swayed, okay, you made so much money, and all of a sudden your heart is totally changed, right? Okay, you want another different person. Will you have a community of Christians that will be there, willing to journey with you, tell you the truth, like, hey Bradley, just chill out a bit, come, let's chat, or if you're down the ground, will the church be there with you to journey with you? Do you need help? Do you need what assistance? We'll be there to journey with you. Your Christian faith is personal, but it's never private. So yeah, please, I went a bit too long.
No worries, go ahead.
Yeah.
Right. So just to add on a little bit to what Eddryll said, when I say a little bit, it's relative, all right? So as a Christian, we have to remember that we are living what we call coram Deo, or CORAMDEO, which means in the face of God. So there's nothing hidden from God, and everything that we do, think, and say is all in the face and in the presence of God. So I think it is with that mindset that we can then, go into everything that we do. It's not just crypto, but our finances and everything, because God is, in there and everything. So when we talk about how do we go into, say, what are some of the guiding principles of going into finances or crypto? The first thing is, the Bible says, I think the Westminster Confession says that, the chief end of man is to glorify God. So in the end, all things that we do is to glorify God. So that what Eddryll says, when you check your heart, it says, are you doing this because you want to accumulate wealth? And what's the purpose of accumulating wealth? Is it for, is it for pride? Is it for comfort? I mean, yes, as creatures, we want creaturely comfort, we want these things. And if God has blessed you with these things, so be it. God has blessed you. But always remember that, God gives and God can take away. So, I think in the end of overall things, we know that even the Luna crash, it was all ordained by God. If He's totally sovereign over all these things. So when we do whether we gain or whether we lose, we remember that as a Christian, we are sons of God, and ultimately the treasure that does not crash is up in heaven itself. So I think the motto for the Crypto Christian is basically hodl the gospel.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
So no matter what happens
title.
Are
in
you
life,
going to put GOSPL?
Gospel.
It's like hodl the gospel.
Wait, what do you mean by GOSPL?
You know, hodl is like
Oh,
gold, right?
GOSPL.
Oh, wow.
Trademark that.
That's a good idea. That's a
You
good
heard
idea.
it
That might
here
be a
first.
thing.
Better, faster.
Yeah,
Yeah,
change it before
trademark it. But
Yeah, that's
so
good.
I think over and above all things, whether we gain or whether we lose, we hold on to the good news that Jesus Christ has come to earth and died
Right.
for our sins.
Got it. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah.
Back to you.
So, but in terms of like sticking to the point about the crash, right? I think it's one thing to give advice if you're a Christian, so it's easy to cite
Right.
passages,
Right.
easy all that. So, as a Christian, if you were dealing with someone who is non-Christian, and a lot of our viewers are also non-Christian, right?
Mhm.
How would you handle something like Terra Luna crash? Because Terra Luna is the biggest, if I'm not mistaken, in crypto history now, that
Yeah.
has gone to essentially zero. I mean,
Yes.
it's not mathematically zero, but
Yeah,
it's basically zero, right? But there in the past there have been so many of these situations that people are still recovering from, and in the future there will be more Terra Lunas, right? How will you tell someone who's not of the faith, like, to handle this sort of huge losses? Because we have a friend, he borrowed, on his Luna, just got married, and then suddenly bang, 700 Lunas from $100 just got wiped out. That's roughly 300k ringgit, right?
Yep.
Mm.
Yep.
So I guess that's my question.
I think it's a wonderful question to ask. Because the context is, if he's not Christian, I cannot just say hodl the gospel.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I think the first thing I would do, right, is say nothing and bring the guy out for yamcha. Just give him a good meal and say, hey, come, let's just chat. Talk about something else for a while. Let him settle down. And actually, I would just check with his financial health like, what is the needs that he needs to be met first, and whether I can meet those needs But other than that, it's just I think there's no. It's hard to recover. That's the main point. You're talking about your whole savings, and like when initially between USD and USDT, right? I compared the whole technology behind it. I'm like,
There's no.
Like at first I thought, USD makes more sense because USDT is 70% backed by treasury. What are you even sure?
It's not even audited properly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
that's
So I'm
the
like, USD, the algorithm makes so much sense. I would have never thought. So Terra Luna is a special case because I think no one could have seen it coming. That's the thing. And of all things, right, if it's an unstable coin, sure, but this is stable coin,
No, and the best part is that I mean, we actually just finished filming the video, and now a lot of the I told you so people are coming out, and they are saying, see, that's the problem with stable coins. But if they actually study about what happened, it wasn't the algorithm that caused the issue.
No.
It was Bitcoin being sold off and
Yes. What a brilliant idea, man.
It was the non-algorithmic part that caused the stable
exactly.
coin
Exactly.
to fail, right? Anyway, continue.
But anyway, so actually, I don't think there's any particular advice at that point. So rather, your presence will be a
Company
better comfort.
presence.
Yes, exactly. And no one, I think we all need to recognize the idea of just company, just yamcha, actually is a very powerful thing because it's the message you send that you're not alone in this. And sometimes that message that I'm not alone is enough for me to take the next step to get going. Yeah, but then after everything calm down, I think I will hunt the person a bit like, dude, okay, then that's why Terra Luna is a special case, it's stable coins. But I will say, look, you do not invest more than you are willing to lose. So when the Terra Luna thing happened, right, I was like, oh, anyway, that kind of thing. Now, so I had to check myself, right, why that response? Because whatever I put it into USD or Anchor specifically, I was ready to lose already, right? That's the whole point of investing. Investing will have risk, and risk will have consequences. And take any other thing, for example, relationships. You chase after this particular girl. Sometimes it pans out, sometimes it doesn't pan out lah.
Yeah.
Right? And there will be a down season, and then all the ang heng tai will come before, hey, go, let's go yam cha. And then until the next girl comes along lah. Okay. I don't mean to make females as commodities here. I'm just giving examples lah. So I think the principle still applies actually. Yeah, the principle still applies. Yeah.
I think it's pretty much the same as Eddryll, just being there, let's say just the company itself is actually very powerful.
Right.
I realized that as to whether I'll give advice or whatever, it really, really depends, because there's no like one size fits all solution.
Right.
I think it's more like you just see the time, like if the person asks for advice, like what should I have done or what could I have done, then, probably like what Eddryll said, don't invest more than what you're willing to lose totally. And maybe just being there, because I think the person himself realizes what he has done and he knows his own mistake. You don't have to like rub salt on his wound.
Yeah.
True.
I think maybe just the company itself saying that, hey, whatever happens, I'm there for you, and just journey with him basically.
Right.
Yeah.
So let me ask this in still in the same vein, right? So what you guys have addressed would be maybe people put in their life savings and they are more they're insecure about their financial future, and it's all about the comfort that it brings and things like that. So it's not an easy thing to solve, but it's, from my perspective, a lot easier to solve this particular problem, because eventually it's this too shall pass thing. You get over it, you rebuild your savings, and let's go. I think there's one thing that is probably even harder to solve, would be the people who want to make money not because of comfort, but because of, as in Christian lingo, we call pride. These are probably a lot harder to handle, because if they rebuild their savings, right, the guy who was in it for comfort will be more aware of adjusting his behavior for the next thing. But the person who did it because he wanted to make more money than the other guy, that's a harder puzzle to solve. But how will you go about, if you identify whether it's a fellow brother or whether it's a non-Christian, right? How would you counsel such a person?
Yeah, wonderful question. You want to go for it first? Oh, okay. Then you add on lah. I think for me, it is very easy to identify a person's character, because you just see the fruits lah, right? So for example, Bradley, oh, wonderful, like he says, I'm a new Christian, and the questions he asks are earnest and true, right? And I find in my experience for Christians, right, when someone like Bradley asks these kind of questions, right, always gets shunned down by a certain group of people.
Wait, really?
Yes.
Oh.
Yes.
Wait, why would they do that?
Okay.
It's so innocent, the question, right?
Yes.
Without naming names, of course.
Yes, without naming names. It's the kind where, how do I word it nicely? Let's just word it as it is. Legalistic Christians, right?
Right.
They have these expectations. You're a Christian already. You shouldn't be even thinking about this kind of stuff. Yeah, Christians just don't do. And they really give a bad experience in Christianity, right? And the whole idea of the gospel, for example, the gospel of Jesus Christ, is that you were never good enough to even save yourself. What makes you the better person to want to lord it over the other person? So that's the starting point. So back to the question of responding then, is any person that comes, right, through their actions, what they say, you can tell in the end the kind of general character that they are. And specifically for the pride thing, right, I don't think counseling is usually the case. Because when you talk about pride means they are already convicted with whatever they are set forth already to begin with. The question is then whether do I have the mercy to, when he falls or he or she falls down in his pride, and which they will. I've never seen pride brought anyone to a good place lah. Okay, will I be there to not say I told you so, but say, hey, come.
That's amazing.
Yeah. And then from there he gets to see that, okay, this person has every right to shoot me down, but why doesn't he shoot me down? Instead, he shows me grace and mercy, right? And from there, I let him know, actually, you see, because life is bigger than all of this lah, right? To show him the better option, and to, okay, then as a Christian, okay, I say, look, pride in a sense, right? Jesus has already redeemed you in your sin, in your totally depraved state, okay, and wants you, okay, in spite of it all. And in that sense, right, there's nothing for you to be prideful for other than that you are a child of God, lah. Right? Will you want to be willing to take on that idea, lah? So I stop at that first and see whether what Kenneth wants to add on, lah.
I think what Eddryll has said is actually like getting to the root cause of the problem.
Right.
It's like, addressing the issue of pride, because pride manifests itself in different ways. It can be fame, it can be through accumulation of wealth.
And it is the sin of all sins, right?
I mean, that's what they call it, lah.
Because they say
I don't mind. Yeah, I don't mind taking sin of all sins, sure.
Yeah.
I mean, it's still a sin. Yeah.
Yeah.
So the idea is like what Eddryll said. The idea of just getting to the root cause of it. So I think like how I would then approach this person basically is that if you say that you're a Christian, what does the Bible then say about accumulation of wealth? Because if we are Christian, we are saying directly or indirectly that we hold that God's word or the Bible is authoritative over our lives. So what does the Bible say about a prideful attitude or accumulation of wealth? And we can go to Proverbs, which says that give me not riches, so that I may not sin against you, in pride, or poverty that I may steal and profane your name. And there are many, many other things that Jesus even talks about pride. So I think there's only so much that we can do as a person to like say that these are the truths of Scripture, and have the person confront it. I think ultimately in the end it's still up to the work of the Holy Spirit. As a Christian, we say to convict the heart and make him realize that this is what Scripture is saying. Compare your life to it, and repent, as we say.
So if I summarize what both of you are saying, essentially, it's actually not something that you can really help with in the same way that if it was in the first scenario where you can bring them out for yamcha and comfort them. And that's a more, I guess, and I don't use this in like a positive or negative way, but that's a more like proactive thing because it works. But it seems to me in the second scenario, it's not up to you essentially to get him to realize, him or her to realize the conviction, but it's more things have to happen. Then only when the dust settles, then only you go in and.
But I'll add one more point. Depend on the context, right? So let's just say it is my best friend, right?
Right.
And he is pride. I would trust that my best friend has given me enough of a vulnerable space in his life for me to tell him off before he needs to fall. Right? The question is whether he's willing to take it in. Now,
that's the hard part, right?
Yeah. So the skill I always teach my students, right, is you tell the truth graciously, right? I said, like, look, hey, this is wrong, right? But it's okay. But let me journey with you with it. And in my experience, when I tell people off, right, usually they always respond and go, how dare you say that for me? Right? And I'll just calm down. And then after a few hours later, they go, hey, Eddryll, thank you for saying that lah. I say, yeah, I know it's tough to swallow, right? Say, yeah, so let's work this out together. So tell the truth graciously, depending on the context. Sometimes if they are adamant about it, then said, I wish you the best, but don't say, hey, see, told you so.
Yeah.
That doesn't make you any better.
That in of itself is a form of pride. Also.
Yes,
right?
definitely. Exactly. Like I'm the better one. See, I told you I'm the awesome one. So that's I'm missing the point. You see, so
Well, the student is ready. Sorry, the teacher is there when the student is ready, in a sense.
Oh, okay.
Right?
Yes, in that sense.
That,
yeah.
But I think maybe just to add a little bit more what you said. So where we talk about saying that, hey, there's we only go out when the dust settles, that kind of thing. I just want to dissect that a little bit more. What I'm not saying is that we should not do anything until the end. What I'm trying to say is that we should know the limits of what we can do.
It's not just a look and see.
Exactly. Because I mean, it does say that the church is there like to support each other, to be there for each other, but also like to place such a burden on yourself where it's not supposed to be. Like, it is not your job to convince the other person. Your job is to tell the truths of Scripture, and God ultimately is the one who convicts. So there's only so much you can do, and we don't want like to set KPIs for ourselves that we can never achieve.
I see.
So I think that's where I'm coming from with that. Yeah.
Any questions? All right, just the last couple of questions, right, has to do with your goals on a personal level, and of course with the CryptoChristian, right? So maybe you start with the CryptoChristian. Like, what's the ideal, right, for CryptoChristian? Where do you all see the Crypto Christian in 5 years? Let's ask the
Oh,
interview
okay.
question.
Yeah, such an interview. Exactly.
Yeah.
Right. Maybe you want to take this one first?
Sure. Honestly, we were supposed to meet up to sit down to draft our white paper.
Oh.
Keep saying
Sort
that.
of, we have a rough idea together, but sometimes in our postings also we disagree. One of the posts was hodl the gospel at first, right? Then he was saying, you sure you want to go with this angle? Because I was thinking more educational, right? Then I was like, but we are crypto Christians, so we want to educate while at the same time remind them that your ultimate investment that will never crash, that will never depeg, right? Right? Is your trust in Jesus Christ.
It's pegged to the work of Christ on the cross.
Yeah, so it's risky, but the risk has been paid with Jesus, you see,
Yeah.
himself, right? So we are still in the midst of digging that out. But I think ideally, by 5 years' time, I would like to see us having a team that does both education and biblical financial literacy. Yes. So cryptocurrency is the means by they learn financial literacy. So they learn both the principles of biblical financial literacy at the same time entering the world of crypto by 5 years. Then adoption rate it will be better than El Salvador lah. Okay, should I say it? Never mind. Sorry. Non-political. So that's my idea. How it goes there, haven't yet. But I believe as we pace ourselves slowly, I'm so looking forward to one day running classes on biblical financial literacy, that kind of thing, where people ask. I love questions, you see. As you can see on the Malaysian Christian memes. We love questions, and we're expanding the team to 3 more people by end of this month.
Wow.
Yeah, praise God for that. Yeah. But yeah, that's my starting point. What about you?
I think Eddryll hit the nail on the head very well. The tree was biblical financial literacy. I think that's pretty much the angle that we want to approach it from. More specifically towards the cryptocurrency scene rather than just like stocks and bonds and all that stuff in general. But to see ourselves in 5 years. So I think trying to find that niche of where our faith and cryptocurrency, or rather blockchain technology itself, overlaps. It's a bit hard because we're trying to crystallize what actually that looks like. So as of now, our page is still a bit empty. We're still kind of like just digging around, trying to see what hits people and what works. But yeah, I think like what Eddryll said, the idea here is that in the end, we want to provide biblical financial literacy, and how that manifests. Is it through classes? Is it just through webinars, or just talking with guests in general? Maybe we might have our own podcast. We can collaborate or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
So
definitely a blue ocean, man. I think it's definitely a blue ocean. Biblical.
Stable ocean.
I think it also helped dispel a lot of things that, like this idea that religion and money is at odds. It's one big mystery that, I mean, it's not a problem with the non-Christian world. It's actually a problem within, where they think that, say things like money is the root of all evil.
Oh, I still struggle with it, man.
It's still there, right?
Yeah, there's one time I have to ask my wife every week when we walk in Desa Park. Not that I live in Desa Park City, okay? I said, hey, we are comfortable, is it something wrong, right? Yeah, because there's this notion that as a Christian you have to suffer a little bit more, struggle a little bit more, so that because the world is so sinful, kind of thing. But then every time we discuss, we always come back to this point, with the resources that you're given, right? It means that you are entrusted with these resources compared to others who maybe, like for a better word, poorer lah. Will you use these resources mainly to build your own kingdom or to build God's kingdom lah? And so that'll be the benchmark. As long as Christians we are building God's kingdom, then we are on a general okay track, right? Yeah, and if that's the case, then maybe driving a Honda City is fine, but you don't have to flex all the way to BMW, maybe, right? But okay, so it's that drawing the line is a whole different case lah. But yeah,
private jet is definitely crossed.
Oh no, definitely. And private jet and getting the church to pay for your private jet, big no. Yeah. So I think in our add-on to your thoughts also just now is that it's a scary thought that I want to dispel the idea that a Christian cannot be financially rich and be a Christian at the same time. You can. It just depends on whether what you do with that richness, So
I mean because I read the Bible as well. I mean, a lot of main characters are actually pretty wealthy people.
Oh yeah, definitely.
And some of them are like unimaginably, some of them are proper whales.
We talk about Solomon,
14,000 sheep, 6,000 goats. My goodness.
We don't think of goats in wealth, right? We think
Yeah.
of satoshis, right? But
Exactly.
but
Satoshi's
back in
not-
the day, it was
One
was
goat,
goats
two goats.
and land and all that, right? So I want to ask now on a personal level, right? Of course, I can half suspect what the answer is going to be, but just to end off, right? What is like you mentioned words like comfortable and things like that. What is comfortable, and are you stopping here in terms of your, like, how do you see your wealth pursuit journey going from now, right?
Okay. Yeah. Kenneth.
Yeah.
Sure.
You're richer than me. Since you go first.
What? So the question was, where do we like how does our journey look like for going forward? and everything?
Yeah.
So I think
on a
once
personal
again,
level,
on a personal level. So I think once again goes back to the overarching principle that we live Corondale in the face of God, and that God has made us stewards of what He has given us. So I think I would hold to the proverb. I think it was Proverbs chapter 30 or verse chapter 28.
37 to 9.
37 to 9, which says that give me not riches that I may grow in pride against you, nor give me poverty that I may steal and sin against you. Something along those lines. Right. So I think more like how I see it going forward is that, okay, with the wealth that I built from crypto, am I going to be using it to build myself, or like, to bless the church, to build other people up and everything. So I think that's the goal of building wealth in general, like how, because ultimately we are still stewards of what God has given us, still expected to grow it and stuff. And so basically rather than looking at how can I help other people with what I have, right? That's the idea.
Personally for me, in terms of comfort, I think everyone will draw a different line.
Of course.
And it's not up to me to determine that line, but it is up to me to identify what is the context of that line. See, I will fully understand if that person really came from utter nothingness, and work his way up. And so I understand that kind of narrative, So all in all, the question is, in whatever ways do I journey with them faithfully, and not try to tell them how to manage their own life, or where to draw that line. So that's one. Personally for me, I think there will come to a certain income amount where I'll just draw a cap. I'll probably cap it, right, until there is a need, right? Because I don't trust myself.
I see.
Yeah, I tell you, I'm a tech lover, by the way.
Okay,
yes.
I know where this is going.
I'm a tech lover. So it's like, and like if I need to get something, Nintendo Switch, like, buy, that kind of thing. It happens to me. I can stinge on everything else, but with technology, right, I just don't know why there's such a pull.
Your dad spirit suddenly.
My sinful man kicks in. That kind of thing. So so my wife will check with me. She'll always be the one that calls me out. So I have to rely on her to call me out when I go too far. So I probably cap myself and continue to use the riches or that's been blessed to me to bless others, like the kind where I make sure I save, but 50% goes to whoever I want to bless lah, that kind of thing. Because
so that's one of your like
models of branding.
Like whatever you save, half needs to go to someone else.
That kind of thing where I want to make sure that, so I'm saving for the rainy day. So that's being wise with your money. But the moment that there's someone in a financial need, like real financial need, don't hesitate to just give. Because here's the thing, God has entrusted you with this not for yourself lah, right? God entrusted you the wealth to help others, right? As the church, where do you see the need lah, right? The kind where I see a beggar, right? He's sleeping. I'm just gonna put food on his side there, and I'm not gonna walk away. I'm not gonna wake up. Hey, look, I give you this rice. Take selfie kind of thing. So make sure that I am not anonymous, disappear. No one knows how much I'm gonna earn, but I'm just gonna bless where I can. So if the money increases, like cap, let's just say I'm earning 20K a month kind of thing, then all the more has to be given out lah. Because I don't need that much money. I don't need them. We don't need that much money actually. We don't need. And it's God that provides. So that's the means He's providing. One day He's going to take away that means of investment, confirm, until the next thing comes along.
I mean, it's very, very reminiscent of a story of a pastor who got really successful because he wrote like some books. Then he had like so much money. He like he didn't know, so he was like finding ways to get rid of it, so to speak. It's like, hey, can I like buy a hospital, just to send. So like I see that spirit lah in you guys.
Yeah.
Any last questions, Brad?
No, just a little bit to harp on you and how your wife manages finance.
Okay.
I think it's very important because I think ultimately building a family is building a team, right?
Yeah.
Both have to leverage each other's strength to really grow, right? I will assume, as you mentioned, she's the one who keeps everything, the accounts and checks and balances at home.
No, me.
You?
yeah, me. I'm the one that do all the financial planning on that.
Okay.
She's the one that sees the character in me, whether there's a change.
Oh, she's like the auditor. Kind
She's
of
my
thing.
auditor.
She
Yeah,
audits
she's
the
the auditor.
auditor.
Yeah, she audits the auditor. And whenever I want to change the financial goals, I have to go through her. And she said, next time don't change anymore, yeah. And I'm like, but this is the better plan. So I know, but we just learn to. So she balances and checks out. And just to add on, right? Yeah, you're so right. And maybe for you also, like since you the single one. I think the most important thing in finding a partner, right? I think one of the most important thing no one tends to discuss is how both of the parties view money, lah. And that's very, very important. That will be a sore point in your marriage. Yeah.
I mean, I
But,
did
yeah.
a pre-marriage course in Alpha
Oh,
with
yeah?
my fiance.
Yeah.
And it was a whole topic. And I think it is super important to have it discussed, along with 4 or 5 other different core aspects as well.
But yeah, she checks my character.
Cool.
Yeah.
That's what they're best at anyway.
Oh yeah. I will not be half the man I am today without her lah. Yeah.
Send this snippet to her.
Yeah, just this particular
Make
gift.
sure, make sure you
gift
see
I
this.
put the subtitle there.
Alright, guys. I think this has been very different type of podcast, but one that definitely not just like our viewers, ourselves as well. One that we need. In terms of refreshing on, like, why do we even make money in the first place? Why do we invest in the first place? What's it for, right? And one of the big takeaways, and this is true for a lot of people who may not be familiar with the word, right, is that it's not just about, counting score, right, like of how much money you make. I think for a lot of people, especially those who are young coming into the world of working and finance, right, to them it's like, what's my net worth? What's that number? And it's like, and it's all about flexing and all that. So, which is very interesting because there's a big group of people who, look down on people who like spend a lot of their money. They're not very good with that. And they gain a lot of this so-called pride with like the amount they have in their bank balance and things like that. So that is also not healthy, right? And it's great that you guys are, doing your best, right, to exemplify the right kind of things when it comes to money and crypto as well. So I've enjoyed this podcast a lot. I don't know about you, Bradley.
I enjoyed it as well. Any last words you guys want to say to your followers?
To your followers, ask more questions.
Oh, yeah. I think nothing much. You do the pitch.
Already, I think are we allowed to tell about our Instagram page? And,
Yeah, go
We've
for
been
it.
talking about it,
please.
so
All
might as
right.
well.
Yeah.
So,
We'll put it in the
so we actually
description as
have
well.
2 Instagram pages that you can follow. Number one is at the CryptoChristian. The second one, and this is the original page, is at Malaysian Christian Memes. So
Cool.
I don't know, will it be on
Alright.
the bottom
It
of the
will
screen
be
or
at the
whatever? It will
bottom.
be there.
We'll put
Yeah,
the links in
yeah.
the
Yeah, give us a
description.
follow. That we will really appreciate it.
All right, guys. I know, this is like I said, it's a very unique podcast, right? And if you've got any question, just ask. As we know, Eddryll loves questions. So
Kenneth too.
usually we will answer the questions in our comments. So maybe Eddryll, you help us this one.
Stuck in the comment
Yeah.
section.
We'll just,
Yeah,
Just keep waiting and refresh the page to see whether you got any comments about Eddryll, right?
Yeah.
Sure thing.
So yeah, guys, as usual, right? If you enjoy the podcast, please share it with someone who you feel needs it, and like, comment, subscribe, the usual stuff, and we will see you in the next pod. Peace out.